Welcome to the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour in race number 4 out of 28. You might notice this scene is a little bit different. We're here from Watkins, Glen, New York for the running of the GEICO 350, our first road course race of the season out of the 5 we have on the schedule in season number 3. Both divisions, the MSCCT and the MSCECR, both have 5 road course races this year. I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. In the MSCCT, we have Watkins, Glen, Riverside, New Hampshire Road Course, Lime Rock Park, and Mosport in Canada. And then for the MSCECR, we have, if I can check here, Virginia International, Montreal, New Jersey Motorsports Park, New York City Street Course with the Clash, and then Lime Rock Park again. So this is going to be interesting because you might notice the ground is not dry. Even though it's not Christmas anymore, I think I can still say the weather outside is frightful, but I can tell you this. There better not be any fires at this racetrack or else you're going to need some EMS work on these cars out here. The interesting thing about all of this is that this is the first ever snow race in MSCCT history. They moved the race back a little bit to help accommodate the track. However, there was another snowstorm overnight, and now the track is somewhat spotty with snow. However, the grass and basically everything else is covered in snow. However, over 50,000 fans are packed into Watkins Glen International to watch this race because they know it's going to be fun. They know it's going to be something that they don't want to miss because usually the Watkins Glen races in the summer, well, guess what? It's not. It's 18 degrees here in Watkins Glen, New York, with subsequent winds as well, significant winds, excuse me, that are over 20 miles an hour. So if you can hear the wind howling outside, then you might want to take shelter because it's either the wind that's knocking down those trees down there or it's Jacob Thibodeau on the pole today in that number 87 Fast Fire Alarm Services Chevrolet for Thibodeau Motorsport, and Nolo Hamilton, who is outside for Gear 7. This is the first time this year that two people who are owner-drivers are both starting on the front row. So that'll be interesting. And then starting back in third, there we go. Back in third, we have Ian Korob, the American Airlines 400 winner, and also the winner of, what's it called? Or the pole sitter at 2 road course races last year. With that being said, let's take a look at the 05 view for the driver command for the GEICO 350.
Drivers, start your engines!
Alright, boys, just like we talked about in the meeting, what's going to pay off for us today is patience and consistency.
Whoa, problems for Jacob Thibodeau. Problems for Jacob Thibodeau. He is stopped. He couldn't get going. And Logan Williams is just going to say, you know what, I'm going to go right past all you. Jacob Thibodeau, the pole sitter, is on pit lane. His engine wouldn't start and it was stuck in neutral. Okay. Logan Williams is going to go around everybody else because apparently he has, like, full power now. What in the world is happening? Oh my goodness. He's now slowing up because I think that the pace car is going to pull up to him. He's wiggling the car. I think he's having trouble. I think he's having problems. He keeps wiggling the car left to right. With that being said, let's take a look at the starting lineup. Row number 1, Ian Korob and Nolo Hamilton. Row number 2, we have Matthew Green and Nelson Reeves. Row 3, we have Ronnie Martin and Darian Arnsdorf. Row 4, we have Sarah Fang and Santiago Alvarez. Row 5, we have Carlos Rex and John McFadden. Row 6, we have Dan Wilkins and Chase Buck. Row 7, we have Armin Salvador and Kyle Driscoll. In row 8, we have Kieran Wolf making his MSCCT debut, and then a ghost to his outside in rows 8 and 9. In row 9, we have Christian Coppola, all by himself. In row 10, we have Brennan Wilmington and Creed Daniel. In row 11, we have Brandon Allen and Molly Fleming. In row 12, we have Werrell Daltrip and Jesse Owens Jr. In row 13, we have Winnie Calhoun subbing in for an injured Ward Burton and JJU. Row 14, we have John Reese and Charlotte Kelly. Row 15, we have Donna Wilkins and Purab Srivastava. In row 17, we have Hunter Walker and Riley Wedge. Row 18, we have Richard Birmingham and Adeline Galvin. Row 19, we have Daniel Rivera and Jackson Snyder. Row 19, we have Sam Joseph and Yuri Nihimi. In row 20, we have Patrick Starr and Ryan Adama. And in row 21, we have Logan Thronberg and Luis Aguilar. Logan Thronberg is moving out of the way, or excuse me, Logan Williams is moving out of the way to try to get past the pace car. He's actually gonna pass the pace car. I think he's just messing with him. Either that or he's having an existential crisis inside the car, and we need an exorcist here in upstate New York. 27 laps of racing, and we haven't even taken the green flag. We haven't even gone into turn number 6 of the pace lap. We've already seen the pole sitter not have his engine start. This is exactly what happened to Logan Thronberg at the American Airlines 500. I can't explain it. And now Logan Williams is fighting the pace car, probably out of protest, I don't know. What will happen here? Will Logan Williams be the false pole sitter? This is... I can't help but laugh because, you know, the funny thing is that we have several drivers from the South. We have Ryan Adama from Fort Myers, Florida. And I talked to him before the race. He has never seen snow. Ryan Adama has never seen snow in his life. And now he's driving on it. He's driving on snow before he even gets a chance to do anything. I just find that hilarious. Regardless. Oh my goodness. Coming off of turn number 7. Ian Korob and Nolo Hamilton on front. Logan Williams going down pit lane in a really weird event. But in the snow from Watkins Glen, it's a brrr. We got a chilly green flag up in the air. Going into turn 1. We have contact. Everybody seems to make it through just fine. Actually, I heard a spin. It's the 13 of Donald Wilkins is in the grass, and same with a whole bunch of cars here. Kyle Driscoll, John Reese. Everybody's going crazy. Korob in the lead. Coming off of the S's. See how everybody does in this first run through the bus stop. See if anybody messes up. I mean, Matthew Green was a little bit slower than what you were expecting. Looks like Nolo Hamilton was on the outside. I mean, I don't know what necessarily it was doing. Whoa! Matthew Green giving Arnsdorf a bit of a shove. He's on his bumper. He's right on his bumper. He's working really aggressively with Arnsdorf going through 6 and 7. And Ian Korob is in the lead out of pure luck, as Jacob Thibodeau didn't have his engine start, and Nelson Reeves now in second, and Arnsdorf in third, as everybody basically got a 1-up. They basically got to move their spot. I mean, he actually, the funny thing is that Korob was scheduled to start third, behind both Hamilton and Thibodeau, but the problem is that he just ended up moving up from row 2 to row 1. He essentially moved up a whole row. So, for all intents and purposes, he actually moved up 2 spots as a result of Thibodeau's engine not starting. Nelson Reeves giving Korob a good run going into the bus stop. And exiting and going into the carousel, you can see... Looks like Reeves might be trying to take the inner line, and Korob might be taking a more middle to high groove. There is no guessing whatsoever what in the world is going to happen for, you know, the rest of this race, considering that this is a snow race. You know, it started pouring snow on late Sunday, early Monday. It didn't stop until Tuesday night, and, you know, these overnight workers at this track, they were able to get the track in somewhat formidable condition, and then what ended up happening was that they had some more snowfall in the morning, and, you know, that's what happens. It is what happens, but Armin Salvador is leaving pit lane, and I saw the 48 of Srivastava also on pit lane, possibly for some damage, but we'll see if that ends up affecting anything, because obviously Salvador's not up to speed, and Green and Hamilton are right behind him. Hamilton goes to the outside of Green. He makes contact with Green. And it's a fierce battle for fifth, but Hamilton is going to make the pass, assuming that Green doesn't get a good run off with Carousel. Salvador in 39th. I mean, Nelson Reeves getting, I guess, a better run. Oh, Nolo Hamilton's around off of 6. He's in the snow as my mouse decided to come apart as I tried to get onto Hamilton's view. He's going to turn around. Hopefully he doesn't hit anybody as he comes back onto the track. I don't think he'll do that. He hits Brennan Wilmington, sends him into a bit of a swirl. He's going to suffer some damage because of it, and Wilmington's going to go to pit lane. Still a good battle for first. It sort of reminds me of what had happened at Lime Rock Park, the last road course race of Season 2 in the Cup level. It was a battle between Korob and Agrista Papageorgis, and Papageorgis was out front, and he ended up leading pretty much all of the laps, and he ended up taking home the win, which is his second and final win as a competitor. But the thing about that race was that Korob was so close so many times, and what he had to do was he had to wait for Agrista to mess up, because even putting himself at full power 100%, he couldn't catch up to Agrista, so he had to wait for him to mess up, and he even did a few times, and he got close, and then Agrista was just a little bit faster, and that's what brought him to victory lane at the end of the day. And I feel like that's the same thing with Nelson Reeves, is that he is so close, but you know, if Korob doesn't mess up or something, or have a bad pit stop, or there's so many different factors that you can decide, but if he doesn't make a crucial mistake, then he might not get there at the end. And I feel like, if anything, the latter is more likely, that if anything, it'll be a bad pit stop that ends up sidelining Korob. Because they've had trouble with pit stops before. Especially the 00 team and Dan Watkins. They've had problems with pit stops. They've had inconsistencies while making their, scheduled routines. Reeves about a half second back. Going into the bus stop. Looks like we got a slower car up here. That's Charlotte Kelly running in the 29th position. Although I think that has changed since. Your fastest laps, not surprisingly, the top two of the top two fastest times on the board. Korob with a 1:19.401 and Reeves with a 1:19.407. Really close. And then a little bit further back, you have Hamilton with a 1:19.473, which was, of course, sidelined after he spun the car out. Reeves about a half second back. Green about 4 seconds back from the leader and about 3 back from Reeves. He's getting a little bit closer. Let's see how this gap changes on the top left corner of your screen. It actually changed by exactly 1/10 of a second. He's now 2/5 of the way back, and we have some more cars on pit lane. World Alltrip, JJU, Creed Daniel, some takers. And now Christian Coppola as well. He might be an obstacle to Korob as he slides a little bit through the corner. I've personally, in my practice at Watkins Glen, and he slams in the Coppola. Does he move him out of the way? Here comes Reeves up the outside. He's going to try to make a pass. He's going to try to make a quickie here. And he's going to slam into Reeves. And he hooks Reeves. And Korob runs the corner wide and he spins into the bus stop. And same with several other cars. World Alltrip. We have some big problems. Creed Daniel slams into Ian Korob. Ronnie Martin, Winnie Calhoun, Jesse Owens Jr., they're all piling in. Keep in mind that some of these drivers have never seen snow before, so one little, overtake into the turn, It's going to be bad. Sarah Feng with a lot of damage as well. And now Nelson Reeves is in the lead. And the 13 and the 01 seem to have tangled up in turn number 7. As now Christian Coppola is essentially a challenger to Matthew Green, as it's chaos with 20 to go at Watkins Glen. And here's Darian Arthur fighting for the 3rd position. Trying to get something going into turn number 1. He runs on the outside line. This is actually for the 2nd position, since they're about 3 3/4 seconds back from Nelson Reeves, the leader. Nelson Reeves has had a complicated career in the MSCCT. I've talked about his story before, where he started off with pole position racing. With Martini Racing, with the 26 car. Then after he was let go, he started his own team, Pole Position Racing. That was what it's called. And then he ran 17 car. He ran a 17 Dodge for a little while, for 2 races. And then he switched to the number 10, starting at Canadian Tire with the good old friends of Pacific Racing. Pacific Racing hasn't had a win in exactly 1 season. Because Pacific Racing's last win in the MSCCT was in the 4th race out of 26 at Darlington for the Southern 500. Now, if Nelson Reeves can hold everybody off and, have some good pit strategy as well, if he can win this one, then it will be Pacific Racing's first win since race 4. Guess what? This is race 4 of season 3. But just keep that in mind. I'm not one that really looks at too many numbers as much as I look at the actual talent and the skill out on the track. But keep in mind that we're probably going to see somewhat of an upset winner here, and I always kind of consider that we would see an upset, mainly because of the fact that this is a snow race. They are racing in 18-degree weather, the coldest race in MSCCT history. The second coldest race was the Granger.com 400 at Chicago Motor Speedway, which was held in October of last year. That was 37 degrees. Even this is below freezing. How's Matthew Green doing back in 2nd? There's Darian Arthur running a little bit wide, and he's, challenged by the 52 of Carmen Salvador, running in the 24th position. In fact, there's only 23 cars on the lead lap. That's kind of funny to me. And Adeline Galvin is out, and look at this battle right here between a 98 and a 52. And, I've ranted about Arnsdorf before, how I personally don't like his move to Sooner State Racing, but this is his last race with him, and honestly, if he can prove that, he's good in this equipment, as Nelson Reeves is going down pit lane, your leader is going down pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. And so is Korob. Korob's there as well, so that could mean, and it will mean, that Matthew Green will take the lead. He's already through the S's, actually. World Ultra in 99 behind him. John McFadden in 3rd, and Darian Arnsdorf in 2nd. Down the backstretch we go. Green with a good run into the bus stop. Is it squandered? It is not squandered. He holds on to it. Looks like World Ultra might have either undershot or overshot the corner because she lost a lot of spots. I think Koppel is out for revenge for somebody because he was partially why Ian Korob got wrecked and Nelson Reeves took the lead. Matthew Green is staying out, so this will at least be a 2-lap gap. Let's see how our good buddy, the number 10, is doing. He's back there. He's in 10th. Apparently, he's 6.5 seconds back, but I think that number is a little bit deflated. They're 3 wide back here. Holy cow. Oh, Arnsdorf and Coppola making some contact. As Arnsdorf got bopped by McFadden, and a hard hit in turn number S. John McFadden hard into the wall, and he looks like that's the only major damaged vehicle from that. His car is smoking really bad. And now that essentially frees up the third position. I think that now Arnsdorf will take second, and Carlos Rex or Ronnie Martin will take third, since Rex and Martin are right next to each other. So I think that that'll be a good battle for leverage, as Martin is right behind Rex. And then Kieran Wolf making his first MSCCT start. He's running in 29th. A bit off the pace, and at number 53, Lime Rock Motorsport Chevrolet. Now will Matthew Green come in? Yes, he will. Does the people behind him come in? Do they come in? Arnsdorf does. He's in second. Arnsdorf and Green are both starting near the front. The only problem is that Arnsdorf has a little bit of damage, and Green doesn't. So that very well could mean that Arnsdorf will be stopped in his pit stall and have his damage repaired, and Green will just have to take tires and fuel, maybe do some track bar adjustments, and that's really all he's going to need. Because you can see he's taking that spot there. There's Ronnie Martin behind him. Ronnie's going to need some really crucial repairs done to that number 29 Dodge. And look at that. Just like that, he's the first one off a pit lane in a landslide. And not too far behind him, not to be outdone, there is Darian Arnsdorf. But here comes Nelson Reeves. Does he take his spot back? He will by a wide margin. Matthew Green couldn't get him out. And honestly, if he came in the pit lane one lap earlier, he probably would have been fine. But now Nelson Reeves says, "Ha, gotcha," and he takes the lead away. Goes from ninth. He would prospectively go from 9th to 1st in this one. Makes contact. That's Santiago Alvarez. He made contact with the 05 of Matthew Green. He's going to do a little bit of a bump and run entering the bus stop. And Green falling back, and there is Luis Aguilar in 12th. This would be a really good comeback story for Luis Aguilar. He originally was planned to start on the pole because of the fact that he qualified a half-second faster than everybody else. But in pre-race inspection, there was a bit of an issue with his car. He had an illegal amount of lead in his front bumper, and it was disqualified. So he was sent to the rear and went from 1st to 42nd, and is now on the rise again. He's coming from 42nd to 12th. Richard Birmingham was being scored as the leader, but that wasn't really going to last long, so he's currently on the pits. Nelson Reeves, though, we're going to pay attention to him since he's still technically, for all intents and purposes, out in front, unless Richard does some magic or whatever. And that would also be an upset win because Birmingham doesn't have a win. He's competed in all 3 seasons as a part-time competitor, but this is his first season of full-time action, and, he's looking for some revenge here as Nelson Reeves locks bumpers with John Reese in the 02. He lets off a little bit, or he's not really. He's going to go into the grass. He's still going to try to pass John, and he will. I mean, there's Yuri Najimi behind him. So Reeves will probably have another competitor soon, but for now, they're scoring in your top left corner. They're scoring Birmingham as the leader, but for all intents and purposes, Reeves is the dominant man to watch. That's why our cameras are following him, That's how we roll. Looks like a bit of a battle there between Alvarez and a lapped car Coppola. See how long it takes for Reeves to catch up to Najimi. I think it'll be at least by the S's that he catches on. I mean, Alvarez is in second. Oh, they did make contact going into 1. And do they make any more? Just a boop, da doop, and scoop. And he's going to peek. And he's going to hook the 91 hard into the wall. Nelson Reeves collected in it. This is bad for Reeves, and it blocks the track. Santiago Alvarez is going to take the lead, and Matthew Green is going to go up to third. Huge problems for Nelson Reeves. That back end is destroyed. And Najimy is out after that was a terrible crash. Alvarez into the chicane. On out of it, just like that. That was a terrible crash. There's Brennan Wilmington running in 24th. He's a little bit slower than the rest of the field. He'll probably end up catching on to the 62 soon, but just... Oh, geez, that is... terrible crash. I assume that takes Nelson out of the running. We'll see if he's out of the race entirely. He's actually still running. He's running at about 100 miles per hour. Running way slower than everybody else, but he's just about to go into turn number 7. Excuse me, turn number 6. We just dipped his tires into the snow. That can't be good. Now Matthew Green, who was further behind than anything that you could predict, is now ever closer to catching the number 16 of Santiago Alvarez. He's 1.3 seconds back. And then third place, how about that? How about Carlos Rex? 8 seconds back. Now, I'm sure that has changed since the ticker has been updated. But it's going to be really close as Matthew Green is going to go for the lead. All in, all now. Green and Alvarez side by side. They touch. They make contact. They slide. Alvarez gets the disadvantage and Green takes the lead. In front of Alvarez, we have Logan Williams, the false pole sitter. Wake up, sheeple. He's going to try to give a little bit of an attack going into 6 and 7. He might be able to get a little leverage on the 77 if he's able to get him to move out of the way. Williams makes a low block. Green trying to go high. They make contact a little bit. And they have locked bumpers on the front stretch. Good bump drafting at a road course. They really did make contact there. They made really aggressive contact going into turn number 1, and it sent the 05 car wide. And now he's just like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to pass you. Although maybe the 77 isn't done with it. I mean, he's running 38th. When you're running that far back, let's see where he's running. He's literally 2 laps down. There's some other cars that are 2 laps down as well, but when you're that far back, why do you even bother trying to mess with the leader's ego like that, you know? Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But Alvarez is probably going to have another obstacle now that Williams is in front of him. You know, as long as Williams was in front of Green, then it would have been a benefit to Alvarez. But now that he's there, if Williams is going to make some, you know, ill-advised block, then that's not going to help the 16. It's only going to help the 05, which is going to be great because that will be his first win, and, you know, that will be good. Logan Thronberg in your bottom left corner. He's on pit lane. Of course, he would have qualified 42nd, but he got moved up a spot after Luis Aguilar's disallowed time from the illegal pre-race inspection. There's Patrick Starr coming out onto the track. I mean, there's Alvarez right behind him. He could make a block on the 16. I don't think he would, but that 08 car, it's got no back end and no front end. It's looking more like a late model, or a modified, actually. Late models are way different, but a modified as compared to what you're used to. I mean, Alvarez has no damage on his car. He is spotless. Same with Green. Or actually, no, he's got a little bit of damage on that front bumper. But besides that, just don't look at this. Don't look at that. You're fine. I mean, Starr is not really blocking the 16 because... Oh, Santiago Alvarez slammed into the wall. Armin hooked him. Armin used his calf strength to turn him right into the wall. Or, no, the calves aren't on your arms, right? Oh, and he's going to get revenge. He's going to slam into the 16. And Brandon Allen's going to get caught up in it as well. This is a dangerous spot on the track to be beefing like this, and now they're all bumping and banging. The 16 and the 14 are both collectively going to go in the pit lane. Bad spot on the track for everybody to be essentially fighting with each other like it's a pillow fight at a sleepover. So now the second place car is having trouble. The third place car is in pit lane, and that makes it even easier for Ronnie Martin. Literally, they're 17 seconds back. Does Ronnie Martin grow ever closer? Where is this 29? Where is this 29 car? Is he anywhere close? Apparently not. No, the 29 had trouble too. So this is going to mean that the third place car is going to be probably Dan Watkins, and then the second place car is going to be Daniel Rivera. How about that? Now he's way back, so it would require like Matthew Green to literally spin out or just get absolutely dumped for something like that to happen. You can't help but laugh when, your voice cracks like that. Oh my gosh. And here in my recording studio, the sun has come out for the first time in 3 days, and I am flattered. Speaking of flattered, so is Matthew Green, since he has 10 laps to go from getting his first career win. Now it will be at Watkins Glen. Going in the 1. He's past Calhoun. Now, the problem with the 22 is this is a really complicated situation. Ward Burton, on lap number 8 of the Royal Caribbean 400, hurt himself after flipping side over side, end over end, in a violent crash in turn 3. Now, they didn't know what was wrong with him, but they kept him out for Atlanta, and then essentially they decided, after looking at some x-rays, that that is definitely a broken collarbone. So now that they had decided that it was a broken collarbone, they decided to keep him out for the next 6 weeks. Now, here's the thing. Calhoun is not driving for Calhoun points. He's driving for Burton's points. So it's essentially like, okay, yeah, he's not actually in the car, but he's getting points for himself. And now big contact between Armin Salvador and Matthew Green. Let's take a look at that. You saw that right there. He plowed into the back of him. Does this mean he's going in the pit lane? He gets one last tap from Salvador and he's going into pit lane. He might even be done. And this could also possibly mean that Daniel Rivera will take the lead. Let's watch. So where's Green in all of this? He's still going down the pit lane. Green's going into a stall. And he's done. He is done, and Daniel Rivera will take the lead. How many times do you see that? The number 1 car retired from the race. You don't see that too often. So now Daniel Rivera is going to take the lead, and I would assume that this means that Richard Birmingham takes second and everybody moves up. This could also spell disaster for Rivera if he's not careful. I mean, he's going to be hitting into the number 11. He's going to jump to his inside. There's the 13 trying to get a good run. Ooh, 13 and 11 both slid behind the 20 car. And remember, Daniel Rivera, this is honestly really interesting because Nelson Reeves was leading for a little while, and I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that this would be the first win for Pacific Racing in exactly 1 season. Here's the thing. Daniel Rivera is also with Pacific Racing. So the same phenomenon applies. That, yeah, if he wins, it's going to be exactly 1 season since they won their last race. I just sort of had that light bulb moment, like, yeah, Nelson Reeves is out. Or I don't think he's out, because No, he can't be out, because there he is right there in 13th. He's actually a lap down because 11 cars are on the lead lap. Snyder and everybody else down is out, and there's only 5 cars that are out of the race. Thibodeau, who didn't even take the green flag, Adeline Galvin, John McFadden, Creed Daniel, and Yuri Najimi are the only ones who are completely out of it. They're the only ones that are out. And Reeves is going to unlap himself, same with Jackson Snyder. So that's going to mean that if they can take it back to the line without getting relapped, then that'll mean that 13 cars now are on the lead lap. Which doesn't mean a whole lot, but... Oh, contact, contact, contact. We got problems. Nelson Reeves and Donald Wilkins into the wall. Some bad contact there, and I think they're both stuck. There's Jesse Rivera Jr., Jesse Owens Jr. having some problems. And Olo Hamilton's going to go into pit lane. And Rivera's in as well. So the question is, now that remember, he started 36, so his pit stall is pretty close to the rear. Let's see where Richard Birmingham is on track, so he's also there as well. Now, I don't exactly remember where he started. Oh my gosh, he is right in front of Rivera. That is hilarious. I mean, they're literally 2 stalls apart. So this is going to mean that Daniel Rivera is going to leave pit lane first, and that's going to mean that, well, Rivera's going to keep his lead. There's Brennan Wilmington behind him, Ronnie Martin, and Santiago Alvarez on the left corner of your screen. And Birmingham just leaving pit lane on the top edge. Lap number 21 out of 27, wouldn't you believe? I talked to Daniel Rivera pre-race, and he was rather disappointed in the fact that he qualified 36, and he was grateful, though, that he made the show, and I'm sure that his feelings have changed a little bit, because this would be a really great transformation for that number 20 team, because of the fact that, you know, he started 36, and then he ended up first. I don't know many times where somebody started near the rear or started in the rear and then it ended up winning. I don't know how many times that's happened, if I'm being honest. I mean, one of the only other really things that I can find was that Dan Wilkins won the American Airlines 500 in Season 2, starting from the 25th position. But that's Daytona. That doesn't really matter much. At Daytona, you can start last and make your way up to the front in a few laps. Especially if you have good equipment. So Rivera is now going to have to battle with Alvarez and Sarah Feng, who Alvarez was in second at one point, and now he's in 34th all the way 3 laps down. They're scoring Carlos Rex as the lead. Whoa, they're scoring... Hold up. Oh, they're scoring Carlos Rex as... Look at this. He has no front end on his car, and they're scoring him as the leader. He's going to have to come in soon, I think. But this will be interesting. 6 laps to go. He's going to hook onto the back of the 70, Brandon Allen. And he's going to send him wide. He literally just slammed into him. That's weird. He's actually going to hold up everybody else behind him. There's Thronberg and Fleming. Oh, and Fleming almost hooked into Allen. She's actually still attached to that number 70 bumper. This can't be good. This can't be good. This can't be good. Oh. Got a spin off of 5 off of the carousel. You see Darian Arsworth. He's technically in second, mind you. Does Rex go to pit lane? Carlos Rex is not going to go to pit lane, I don't think. No. He's staying out there. He's got literally no front end. This would be really weird, but it would also be a great comeback story for Carlos. As he was in third, he got involved in a bad accident, and now he's back out in front. And now only 9 cars remain on the lead lap, and Logan Thronberg would make it 8 if he gets lapped. I mean, this is just hilarious, because he's got literally no front bumper, as Brandon Allen is running the corner wide, but he's actually almost stopped in the snow out there. I mean, he's from West Virginia. He should know how to get through the snow. But here is Carlos Rex on lap number 23, just a few more miles away, about 8 or 9 miles from his second career win. And you know what's really funny? The second coldest MSCCT race was the Granger.com 400 at Chicago Motor Speedway. Would you happen to know who won that race? Carlos Rex. Now we have the coldest race in MSCCT history at 18 degrees. And, wouldn't you know, Carlos Rex is in the lead. Like, that is just hilarious to me. The fact that he's in the lead with a damaged car, too. Running the show with now 4 laps to go. Now, Rivera is still a little bit further back. He's coming off of turn number 7 right now. But, oh my gosh, this is just comical. The fact that if he stays out and he holds his ground, then this is going to be one of the weirdest finishes I've ever seen. Now, Rivera, assuming he crosses the stripe, let's see where he's at. He's going into the S's now. He's 13 seconds back. He has to gain a lot of ground on Carlos to even give him a chance. Also, since Sarah Fang and Armin Salvador, the 2 VBM cars, now that they're a lap down, that brings it down to 7. And even Logan Thronberg is not that far away from being lapped, as we have a spin up here. I believe Winnie Calhoun, and looks like Darian Arnsdorf tangled up a little bit. So weird just looking directly at the engine. It's so weird. If Carlos Rex finally decides to come in, then I don't know. This could be a very interesting fuel strategy event. 3 laps to go from the GEICO 350. Carlos Rex, you might as well call him the polar bear because he does really good in the cold. 37 degrees, no problem. 18 degrees, no problem. See how Rivera's stacking up. He gained 3 seconds on that lap. A 10.52 gap now exists. As he sends Santiago Alvarez wide, he basically gave him a little bump and run to the outside. I mean, if you're Daniel Rivera, what you're hoping is that Charlotte Kelly, Logan Thronberg, or somebody ends up giving Rex a challenge and blocks him. You'd hope that, as a driver, as that number 20 driver, you'd hope that's what happens to you. But if you're Carlos Rex, you're just like, everybody get out of my way. That's exactly what you're looking to see happen. And the funny thing is that, you know, he's gaining ground, but can he really gain 10 seconds faster in 3 laps? Less than 3 laps now. We're coming up on 2 to go, coming this time by. So unless somebody gives him a challenge, I don't think in any way are we going to see something really out of the ordinary happen. This could very well be a unorthodox race finish. Carlos Rex, 2 to go. See where Rivera is. He's closer. He is closer. I might be wrong. He gained 3 seconds on that last lap. 3 seconds. I mean, who could possibly... Would it be Kyle Driscoll? You know, I don't know. Seems like everybody's faster than Carlos. So why isn't anybody passing him? Rivera, oh my goodness. This is incredible. The fact that Rivera is making up this much ground, I don't know if it'll be enough, if I'm being honest. And I don't think it'll be enough. But this is possibly the greatest strategy I've ever seen out of an MSCCT driver. Literally no front hood, an immaculate back end, damage on your left side, and you're now just a few turns away from your second career win. And now he's going to battle with Hunter Walker. He's actually going to let Walker pass him. Probably the best course of action there. Daniel Rivera, he's putting the pedal to the metal, I'll tell you that. White flag. One more lap to go in the air from Watkins Glen. Carlos Rex looking for the most improbable finish in recent history. Rivera gains 2 seconds on that lap. Carlos Rex is up there. He's in that little speck. Walker's a bit too far away. Now it might be Winnie Calhoun who might be the only chance of really putting it into him. He's close. Going into the carousel one final time. I don't think he can catch him. You know, I don't even think if he does catch him, I don't think he's going to hook him. He's actually going to get to his inside. He's going to get to his inside. Look at Rivera. He's back there. Oh my goodness. Carlos Rex is going to do it. Carlos Rex. Yup. How about that? With no front hood, he holds off Daniel Rivera and wins at Watkins Glen in the snow. And despite a hard-charging effort by Daniel Rivera, as we have trouble back here, Christian Coppola got dumped by Allen. And we have even more trouble up in turn number 1. Oh my goodness. Despite the fact that he didn't have a front hood on his car, he holds off Daniel Rivera for an astounding win, his second of his career. You know, I gotta give a hats off to Rivera, though, because when Carlos Rex was really starting to slow up, he was 10 seconds behind. I think he was even 13 seconds behind. In 5 laps, he gained almost 10 seconds on Carlos, and he made it happen. So that's something that you have to be able to appreciate. Looks like we have a spin after the checkered flag is flown. Can't imagine that's anything to do with their past events. But my, oh my, what a race from the snow, no less. I didn't think that a race in the snow had that much potential, and gosh darn it, it did. But regardless, we should just call him the Polar Bear. The Polar Bear, Carlos Rex, takes home the second win of his career and the second coldest race in MSCCT history, 37 and 18 degrees. If you combine his 2 wins and the temperatures of the green flag, boom, you got yourself 55 degrees. Regardless, this is Dan Wilkins signing off for now. We'll see you at the next race, but Carlos Rex, with no front hood, takes home his second career win in an improbable fashion. We'll see you guys next time.